Plants. I mean, what else is there to say? Today, I'm making Petey Piranha, a classic boss from the Super Mario series who really deserves a good plush. I mean, this one is okay. It's fine. But we can do better, baby. We can do this better. So let's jump in and talk about Petey or whatever, because this is Let's Stitch. Mamma mia. Firstly, I'd like to take a minute to stress choosing materials. I make a lot of things out of socks. They're a nice, stretchy, forgiving medium. I also use a lot of t-shirt. They have a high thread count, are usually pretty soft, but flower buds have a special kind of gloss to them, right? So I searched around and I found these spandex undershorts on a clearance rack. Well, they're mostly polyester, but regardless, this was the kind of texture that was really on my mind when I imagined a Petey plushie, so I bought them. And you may be wondering, isn't this an unnecessary detail? Yes, but the look of the head is a major focus for me, so I want to do a good job. My issue is that I don't have a pattern for a sphere. So I'm taking a bit of a roundabout way of creating my own pattern from this Pac-Man oven mitt. It's roughly the size I want Petey's head to be, so what I'm going to do is take a circle from it, cut that out, and there are many ways to make a fabric sphere. But what I did was I folded the circle in half and opened it to about 45 degrees, traced that, and this is the pattern for my sphere. To test it out, I want to try it on some other fabric, just to be safe. Of course, Petey's head isn't going to be a complete sphere, but I'm going to make a ball so I can be sure whether I'm getting that round shape, you know. I figure it would be made of 6 pieces, so that's what I did. I pinned those all together and zipped that through my sewing machine. It wasn't perfectly lined up on every seam. Look at that though, that was a cool little accident there. Anyway, I'm confident enough in this pattern to move on to the real deal. I'm drawing a bit of seam allowance around the outside so that the seam isn't right on the edge. And I'm trying to make each piece match the first one I drew out so they have a better chance of matching. Each piece match? Yeah, that's how matching works. Okay. Now, instead of sewing up 6 pieces, I'll only sew together 5 for this. So after stitching that up, we basically have a red Pac-Man. In fact, that circle we traced off of Pac-Man is what we can use to pattern the mouth. This, we can use a black t-shirt for. But if this thin black fabric is going to be the only thing the mouth is made of, that's going to be no bueno. There's not structure to it. It'll bulge out from the pressure of the stuffing. Here's how I can avoid that, okay? Hold on. This is just some craft foam. This can be sewn onto the back of the black shirt fabric to line the mouth and add a decent rigidity, while maintaining the soft nature of a stuffed toy. And if we cut it in half, that'll give some room for the joint of the mouth to move a bit. I guess that's more important for a puppet. And I considered making this doll as a hand puppet, but maybe I'll save that for another video. You can see I have a little bit of puckering on the fabric, and that was from the t-shirt stretching as the foam stayed taut. But you won't really notice that once the other mouth details are in. For instance, the tongue. I have some pink shirt here that'll cover the bottom of the mouth plate. At this point, it's ready to be sewn into the head. The way it's sewn in there isn't all that important, just so long as the stitches are secure. And then there are 9 pointy teeth in Petey's mouth. This is something I always try to correct over mass-produced dolls. Little, flat, felt teeth. They're easy, they're cost-efficient, and most importantly, they're boring. We're going to shape up something way more substantial. You see, while these aren't technically very hard to do, they're time-consuming, and it's understandable that you would want to forego this route and opt for the flat teeth. But if you're willing to put in the time, or if you're like me and you actually just can't help yourself, these round fangs produce a more satisfying result. So with the teeth in place, we can build the lips right over top. I have a green t-shirt that I'll cut some wide strip from. I thought about sewing up some tubes and stuffing them, then stitching them on, but stuffing tubes is a pain, so I figured it would be a little bit easier to take some sheet foam and cut that to the dimensions I need. Then it's just a matter of sewing the shirt over itself to tighten down the foam. In hindsight, looking back at this might have taken me just as long to do as if I had sewn 2 tubes and filled them with stuffing. But doing it this way made me a lot less mad, and I think that's pretty important. I like not having a seam along the outside of the lips, so to close the rest of this up, we'll take some E6000 Fabrifuge and just glue them in place. Fabrifuge is soft and flexible, so it'll hold without making it feel crusty or crunchy. To finish up the head, for now, we'll add the yellow petals. In this instance, I'll use a sock because it's soft and has a bit of squish. According to most pictures I can see, he's got 12 petals, so I'll cut 12 of these shapes. Or I guess I'm cutting 24 of these shapes because I'm doubling up my sock. I wasn't going to stuff these, but I was afraid they'd look too flat. And I was also concerned that when I stitched the petal veins in the center that they wouldn't show off enough dimension, so I added yet another unnecessary detail. This was honestly a tedious step to the doll because I was trying to space them out appropriately, as well as line them up correctly. You can see I marked out my placement along the head, and even then I only fit 10 petals on, and I got some petals out of alignment, so this took a long time, in summary. At this point, I'm going to move on to the rest of him, and in comparison, the rest of the body is simple. I've drawn out a centerpiece and a sort of gusset to go on either side. A gusset is basically just a widener, and we gotta achieve that teardrop body shape. I needed 2 centerpieces, 2 side pieces, and 2... well, this one I'll show you in a sec. So I'm going to line the flat edge of this triangle along a fold, and I'll make 2 pieces like that. And those are my legs. Here's a fun little story. I was searching Google for reference images, as I often do. And obviously there's porn of everything out there. So I could have expected to find some Petey lewds, right? My surprise came from the fact that I didn't have to scroll very far to happen upon it, and also, there are a lot more of you out there than I'm frankly comfortable with. Like, you can be into just about whatever you want, but to specifically have a thing for Petey Piranha's belly button crests upon a level of specificity that I was unprepared to have knowledge of. Some of that leftover booty short we can use for Petey's own booty shorts. A little tack on either side is enough to stitch them into place. And the rest can just be held down by Fabrifuge. Now comes one last step. Petey's got polka dots all over him, and we could stitch some white circles over top, but we'll get a lower profile and better consistency by slapping this boy with some iron-on vinyl. And we'll cut our circles out with this little circle cutter. I didn't keep track of how many pieces I cut. A lot. This vinyl has a backing that you can peel off and then stick the facing right onto your surface. To adhere it, we have to add some heat, specifically the highest setting of your iron. It's important to lay something like a cloth over your vinyl so that the iron doesn't just peel everything off. Now, a few factors are working against us in this scenario. One being the angle, as vinyl bonds best under consistent heat. And because the fabric is filled with stuffing, it's hard to get the suggested level of pressure to help with the vinyl setting in. But since these dots are so small, it's not much of an issue to get them to stick. And if we really wanted to overachieve, we'd take some ink and color the outline of the petals, detail the body, but I am on vacation, so that's going to be it for me today. And I'll tell you, I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. I mean, it looks pretty legitimate. And it's made from underwear. Like, that's wild, you know? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching Petey Piranha come together. Let me know who your favorite Mario baddie is. Keep making stuff, and I'll see you next time.